Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Sleepy Professor channel. I'm glad to see you again. Tonight, I want to take you on a peaceful journey through gardens both ancient and new, where herbs have been quietly helping people find rest for thousands of years. So let yourself get comfortable, allow your breathing to slow and deepen, and let's wander together through this world of gentle plants and their stories. You know, when I think about herbs and sleep, my mind always drifts back to the ancient Sumerians nearly 5,000 years ago. These people, living in what we now call Iraq, were some of the first to write things down, and among their clay tablets, archaeologists found recipes for sleep remedies. Can you imagine someone sitting there in the dim light of an oil lamp carefully pressing a stylus into wet clay, preserving knowledge about which plants brought peaceful rest? That tablet dried in the Mesopotamian sun and survived all these millennia just so we could know that humans have always sought these gentle helpers. Speaking of ancient wisdom, chamomile has such a beautiful story. The Egyptians loved this flower so much they dedicated it to Ra, their sun god. They believe chamomile captured the sun's gentle warmth and golden light. If you've ever held chamomile flowers, you know they have this lovely apple-like scent. In fact, that's where the name comes from. The Greeks called it ground apple, chamai melon, because when you walk through a chamomile lawn, it releases this sweet, fruity fragrance with every step. The Egyptians would lay the flowers out to dry in the desert sun, and imagine that scene for a moment. Rows of white and yellow flowers gradually fading, their essence concentrating as they dried, preparing to bring sleep to people centuries in the future. This brings me to something wonderful about passion flower. In the Middle Ages, monks tended gardens within monastery walls, places of contemplation and prayer. When Spanish missionaries first saw passion flower in South America, they were struck by its intricate blooms. They saw symbols of Christ's passion in every part of the flower, the corona like the crown of thorns, the 5 stamens like the 5 wounds. These monks brought seeds back to their European monasteries, and soon passion flower vines were climbing the sunny walls of cloisters. The monks noticed something interesting. When they made tea from the leaves and flowers, their evening prayers became more peaceful, their racing thoughts quieted. They would walk their gardens at sunset, watching these exotic purple and white flowers close for the night, learning from the plant's own rhythm of activity and rest. Now, if we travel to the countryside of France, we find ourselves in Provence, where lavender has been growing for so long that no one remembers a time without it. The Romans who conquered Gaul fell in love with lavender. They would bring bundles of it to their bathhouses, and as the hot water released its scent, the steam would fill the rooms with this calming aroma. The word lavender comes from the Latin lavar, to wash, and the Romans understood something beautiful, that washing could be not just about cleaning the body, but also cleansing the mind, preparing it for rest. Even today, if you visit Provence in summer, you'll find endless purple fields rolling across the hillsides, and the scent carries for miles on the warm evening air. There's another plant with an earthy, honest quality to it, and that's valerian. It grows wild along riverbanks throughout Europe and Asia, and while its flowers are delicate and sweet-smelling, soft pink or white clusters, the root itself has a very distinct pungent scent. Some people say it smells like old socks, others like forest floor after rain. But despite this humble aroma, valerian has been treasured for millennia. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, wrote about it. The ancient Greeks and Romans used it, and in medieval Europe it was called all heal, such was the faith people had in its ability to bring peace and rest. I like to imagine medieval herbalists digging up valerian roots by the river in autumn, when the plant's energy had descended into the earth, carefully washing away the mud, then hanging the roots to dry in dim, airy sheds. Here's something that might surprise you. Hops, the same plant that gives beer its bitter flavour, was used as a sleep remedy long before anyone thought of brewing with it. In the English countryside during hop harvesting season, workers would often become drowsy in the fields. At first, farmers thought they were just being lazy, but eventually they realised it was the hops themselves, their sedative properties being absorbed through the workers' skin as they handled the flowers. This led to a charming tradition, hop pillows. Even King George III of England, who suffered from troubled thoughts and sleeplessness, kept a hop pillow by his bedside. Picture this monarch, with all the worries of an empire, finding comfort in the same simple herb that farmers had discovered by accident. Moving to a sunnier note, lemon balm is one of those plants that seems to radiate happiness. It grows with such enthusiasm that gardeners often have to restrain it, but its cheerful nature is part of its charm. The moment you brush against lemon balm, even accidentally, it releases this fresh, citrusy scent that lifts the spirits. Medieval Carmelite nuns created a famous preparation called eau de calms, a lemon balm cordial they used to calm nerves and ease people into sleep. The plant's Greek name, Melissa, means honeybee, because bees absolutely adore it. On a summer afternoon, a patch of lemon balm will be buzzing with happy bees gathering nectar. There's something poetic about that, a plant beloved by bees, those tireless workers, being the same plant that helps humans finally stop working and rest. If we journey eastward to China, we discover the jujube tree, which has been offering its gifts for over 2,000 years. These trees grow slowly and gracefully, and in late summer they produce small red dates that wrinkle as they dry, becoming sweeter and more concentrated. Ancient Chinese physicians wrote that jujube dates nourish the heart and quiet the spirit. Think about that phrase, quieting the spirit. In traditional Chinese understanding, when our spirit is restless, racing from thought to thought, sleep becomes impossible. Jujube dates were seen as gentle friends that could whisper to that restless spirit, helping it settle like a bird coming to roost at day's end. The magnolia tree holds a special place in Asian medicine, particularly the bark of certain species. These trees are magnificent. They can live for over 100 years, and in spring, before any leaves appear, they burst into bloom with huge fragrant flowers. There's something almost miraculous about seeing a magnolia in full bloom, those large petals opening on bare branches. Practitioners of traditional medicine would carefully harvest bark from older trees, believing it held accumulated wisdom about letting go. Just as the magnolia releases its petals when the time is right, the bark was thought to help people release their grip on the day's worries and surrender to sleep's embrace. Out in California, there grows a poppy that blankets hillsides in gold each spring. The California poppy is gentler than its opium-producing relative, but native peoples knew it had its own gifts to offer. They would make preparations from the whole plant to ease pain and encourage sleep. What I find beautiful is how these poppies behave. Each evening, as light fades, the flowers close their petals, and each morning they open again. It's as if the plant is teaching by example, showing us the rhythm of opening to the day and closing for the night, over and over, following the sun's ancient pattern. Now here's an amusing contradiction. Catnip, which sends cats into states of euphoric playfulness, has exactly the opposite effect on humans. Colonial Americans understood this well. planting catnip in their kitchen gardens alongside other culinary and medicinal herbs. They would harvest it on dry summer mornings, after the dew had evaporated but before the sun became too hot, believing this was when the plant's essential oils were most potent. The stems are square, a characteristic of the mint family, and the leaves are soft and fuzzy, almost inviting you to touch them. After drying in bundles hung from kitchen rafters, the catnip would be crumbled into evening teas that brought calm and drowsiness. There's a charming little plant called skullcap, named because its small blue flowers look like tiny medieval helmets. It loves to grow near water, in wet meadows and along stream banks, its delicate flowers nodding in the breeze. Native American tribes, particularly the Cherokee, valued skullcap highly. They used it in ceremonies and for daily medicine, finding that it brought a particular kind of peace, not the heavy drowsiness of some herbs, but a gentle quieting of worried thoughts. Imagine sitting by a stream at dusk, the water moving past, skullcap flowers bobbing nearby, everything participating in the same peaceful rhythm. St. John's wort has such a mystical quality to its story. This plant blooms right around the summer solstice, when days are longest and the sun's power is at its peak. Medieval Europeans believed St. John's wort captured and held some of this solar energy. They would gather it on St. John's Eve, the night before the summer solstice, and hang it above their doors for protection and to ensure peaceful sleep. The flowers are bright yellow, and here's something magical. If you crush them between your fingers, they release a red oil, as if they've captured not just the sun's light, but its warmth and life force. Travelling back to India, we encounter ashwagandha, a cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years. The name literally means smell of horse, which might seem unflattering, but it refers both to the root's earthy scent and to the traditional belief that consuming it gives you the strength and vitality of a stallion. But ashwagandha has a dual nature. While it can energize, it also deeply calms. Ayurvedic practitioners explain this by saying it's an adaptogen, helping the body find its natural balance. So for someone exhausted but wired, unable to sleep despite being tired, ashwagandha helps the body remember its proper rhythm, active during the day, restful at night. In European meadows and forest clearings, you might find wood betony, a plant the ancient Romans held in such high regard they believed no illness could resist it. They developed elaborate harvesting rituals for betony, offering prayers and thanks before taking the plant. Its purple flowers grow in dense spikes blooming throughout summer, and the whole plant has a slightly bitter aromatic quality. Medieval herbalists sewed betony into pillows, believing it would prevent nightmares and bring prophetic dreams. There's something touching about that. The idea that we can invite not just sleep, but meaningful sleep filled with wisdom and insight. Wild lettuce is a plant that many people pass by without a second glance. It grows tall along roadsides and in waste places, and to the casual observer, it's just another weedy thing. But if you break the stem, a milky white sap oozes out, and this sap has been used since ancient times as a gentle sedative. Roman Emperor Augustus apparently credited wild lettuce with saving his life through some healing property it possessed. The plant grows several feet tall, topped with small yellow flowers that open in the morning and close in the afternoon heat, conserving energy and moisture. Another lesson in knowing when to be active and when to rest. Deep in forests, on decaying logs and stumps, grows a mushroom that ancient Chinese emperors prized above gold, the reishi mushroom. Its glossy reddish-brown surface looks almost varnished, and it can grow quite large. In China, it's called lingji, the mushroom of immortality, and emperors would send expeditions into remote mountains to find it. Traditional Chinese medicine teaches that reishi calms the spirit and nourishes the heart, and that it's particularly helpful for those who can't sleep because of emotional turbulence. The mushroom grows slowly, sometimes taking years to reach full size, and this patience is thought to be part of what it teaches, that good things, including good sleep, cannot be rushed. Blue vervain stands tall and straight in damp meadows, its purple flower spikes reaching upward like tiny lavender torches. This plant was sacred to many peoples. The Druids reportedly harvested it by moonlight, using it in their ceremonies. Native American healers used it for various purposes, including as a sleep aid for those with overactive minds. There's something about vervain's upright growth habit, the way it stands firm and straight even in wind, that seems to embody a kind of calm strength. Mugwort has long been associated with the world of dreams. In medieval Europe, people believed that sleeping on a pillow stuffed with mugwort would bring vivid prophetic dreams. The plant's silvery green leaves have a distinctive scent, slightly bitter and aromatic, and it was also hung above doorways to protect sleeping families from nightmares and negative influences. Mugwort grows prolifically in waste places, unconcerned with poor soil or difficult conditions, and perhaps this hardy nature is what people hope to borrow: the ability to rest peacefully regardless of circumstances. Across the Pacific, island communities developed deep relationships with a plant called kava. For thousands of years, they've gathered in the evening to share kava drinks, a communal practice that builds bonds and brings relaxation. The root is prepared through patient traditional methods, often chewed or ground, then steeped in water. The resulting drink has an earthy, slightly bitter taste, and it brings a particular quality of calm, relaxing the body while keeping the mind clear. Imagine those island evenings, the sun setting over the ocean, people gathering in a circle, sharing kava and stories, letting the day's tensions dissolve. Here's something you might not expect. Oat straw, from the same plant that gives us our morning oatmeal, has been used for centuries to soothe frayed nerves and improve sleep. The trick is to harvest the oats when they're still green and milky, before they ripen into grain. At this stage, they're called milky oats, and they contain the highest concentration of calming compounds. Picture fields of green oats in early summer, waving in the breeze, and farmers walking through with practiced eyes, knowing exactly when to harvest for medicine versus food. The same plant feeding us breakfast also helps us sleep. At night, there's a beautiful symmetry to that. In India, you'll find holy basil, or tulsi, growing in courtyards and near temples. Hindu families cultivate it as a sacred plant, and there are morning and evening rituals around caring for it. The plant has a wonderful clove-like scent, and its leaves are used in tea, in cooking, and in medicine. Tulsi is considered an adaptogen like ashwagandha, helping the body respond more gracefully to stress. When you can handle daily stress better, sleep comes more naturally. Traditional wisdom says that Tulsi protects both the physical body and the spirit, creating conditions for deep, restorative rest. Gotu kola grows low to the ground in the wetlands of Asia, its small fan-shaped leaves spreading across the mud. There's legendary Chinese herbalist named Li Qing Yuan, who supposedly lived to be 256 years old, and he credited his longevity partly to drinking Gotu kola tea every day. Now, we might be skeptical of such extreme claims, but the story points to something real. Coca-Cola's reputation for promoting long, healthy life. It's said to calm the mind without causing drowsiness, bringing a peaceful alertness that, as evening approaches, can transition gently into sleep. The hawthorn tree is one of those plants that marks the turning of seasons in European landscapes. In May, it bursts into bloom with white or pink flowers, and by autumn, its branches are heavy with deep red berries. These trees can live for hundreds of years, becoming gnarled and beautiful with age. European herbalists discovered that hawthorn berries, flowers and leaves all have calming properties, particularly for stress that manifests as heart palpitations or chest tightness. There was an old tradition that sleeping beneath a hawthorn tree would bring vivid, meaningful dreams, though people were also cautious about hawthorns, seeing them as dwelling places of fairies and spirits. Linden trees are magnificent. They can grow tall and live for 1,000 years, and European villages often had a central linden tree where townspeople would gather. In June, these trees bloom with small honey-scented flowers that bees adore. The flowers were collected and dried for teas that would last through the winter, bringing summer's peace into the dark months. There's something powerful about sitting under a linden tree in bloom. This scent is sweet but not cloying, and there's an almost tangible sense of calm beneath its branches. Motherwort grows in those forgotten corners of gardens where the soil is rich and nobody bothers it much. Its pink flowers are arranged in whorls around the square stem, and the whole plant has a slightly bitter taste. The name tells us its traditional use. It was given to mothers, particularly after childbirth, to strengthen them physically and emotionally. But motherwort's gifts extend beyond motherhood. It was believed to strengthen the heart in all senses, helping worried people find calm and rest. Medieval herbalists said it made the heart merry, which is a lovely way of saying it eased anxiety. Far to the north, in Arctic regions and on high mountains, grows a remarkable plant called rhodiola. It's adapted to some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Extreme cold, high altitude, intense sun followed by long darkness. This ability to adapt is thought to be what rhodiola shares with those who use it. It helps people adapt to their own stresses, whether physical, mental or emotional. Arctic peoples have used the golden root for centuries, helping them maintain balanced energy through long, dark winters. The plant helps establish healthy rhythms, energy when needed, rest when appropriate. In the mountains of northern China, woody vines climb through the forest, bearing clusters of red berries called schisandra. These berries have a unique property. They contain all 5 tastes that Chinese medicine recognizes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and pungent. This 5-flavor profile is seen as evidence of the berry's balancing properties. Traditional Chinese medicine uses schisandra to calm the heart and quiet the spirit, particularly for people whose sleep is disrupted by intense dreams or nighttime anxiety. The berries are often dried and used in tea blends, their complex flavor a reminder of life's complexity. High in the Himalayas, there's a fungus with a remarkable story, cordyceps. It grows parasitically on certain caterpillars, and Tibetan herders first discovered it when they noticed their yaks became stronger and more energetic after grazing in areas where cordyceps grew. For centuries, it was so rare and precious that only emperors could afford it. Modern cultivation has made it more accessible, and research suggests it helps regulate sleep-wake cycles, supporting energy during the day and deeper sleep at night. There's something almost mythical about its origin story. From the high, cold plateaus where the air is thin and life is hard. On the dry, coastal hills of California grows a silvery plant called California sagebrush. It's different from the culinary sage in your kitchen, with narrower leaves and a more resinous scent. Native Californians would burn bundles of it ceremonially, believing the smoke purified spaces and cleared away troubled thoughts. Before sleeping, they would waft the smoke around their shelters, preparing the space for rest. The plant's aromatic oils were thought to have the power to clear mental clutter, making room for peace and dreams. In the wet, alkaline soils of the American Southwest, there grows a plant called yerba mansa. Its name means calming herb in Spanish, and native peoples valued its root highly. The plant has curious white flowers that some say look like a lizard's tail, giving it another common name. Yerba mansa root was used to calm various kinds of inflammation, including the inflammation of the mind that we might call stress or anxiety. Harvesting it required getting muddy, digging into wet soil, but the root's gifts were worth the effort. The elder tree holds such a special place in European herbal tradition that it's been called the medicine chest of country people. Its flowers bloom in creamy white clusters in early summer, filling the air with a sweet, slightly musky scent. These flowers were gathered and dried for tea that was given to children to help them sleep peacefully. The berries that follow in autumn were made into syrups and wines. European folklore said the elder mother lived in elder trees, and you should ask permission before taking any part of the plant, showing respect for its generous gifts. In the coastal canyons of California, you'll find bay laurel trees, not to be confused with the Mediterranean bay used in cooking. California bay has leaves with such an intense, penetrating scent that just a few are enough. Native peoples would place 1 or 2 leaves under their pillows, believing this brought prophetic dreams and deep sleep. The scent is camphoraceous and strong, clearing the sinuses and somehow clearing the mind as well, as if making space for rest. On elder trees you might find a curious fungus called wood ear, growing in ruffled ear-shaped forms. This mushroom has been used in Asian cuisine and medicine for thousands of years. It's valued partly for its texture, but also for its subtle strengthening properties. In traditional Chinese medicine, wood ear is thought to nourish the blood and calm the spirit, supporting the kind of quiet vitality that allows for good sleep. Gathering it requires careful attention, looking up into tree branches, spotting these dark forms against the bark. Mimosa tree bark comes from a tree that's native to China but has been introduced around the world. In China, it's called the happiness bark because traditional medicine uses it specifically for sleep problems related to grief, sadness, or depression. The tree itself is beautiful, with feathery leaves and fluffy pink flowers that attract butterflies. The bark is harvested with care, never taking so much that the tree is harmed, and it's used to help people whose hearts are too heavy to rest, gently lifting the spirit just enough to allow sleep to come. Skullcap has a cousin called Baikal skullcap, native to Russia and China. This variety has a long history in traditional Chinese medicine, where it's used to clear heat and calm agitation. The plant grows in harsh conditions, developing a strong root system that supports tall, flowering stems topped with blue-purple flowers. Traditional practitioners believed that plants growing in difficult conditions developed strength that they could share, helping people endure their own difficulties while maintaining inner peace. In the American Midwest and South, wild bergamot grows in prairies and open woodlands. This member of the mint family has shaggy pink or lavender flowers that bees and hummingbirds love. Native American tribes, particularly the Winnebago and Lakota, used wild bergamot for many purposes, including as a calming tea before sleep. The leaves have a complex scent, somewhat like oregano mixed with mint, and when dried and crumbled into tea, they bring a warming, relaxing quality. The Japanese knotweed, though considered invasive in many places, has been used in traditional Asian medicine for centuries. It contains compounds that support circulation and reduce inflammation. In Japanese tradition, it was thought to help the body's energy flow smoothly, preventing the stagnation that can lead to restlessness and insomnia. The plant grows incredibly vigorously, sending up bamboo-like stems that can reach 10 feet in a single season, and there's an irony in such a vigorous plant being used to promote rest. Albizia flower comes from the same mimosa tree I mentioned earlier, and the flowers themselves are used differently than the bark. These fluffy pink blooms are gathered in summer and dried, then used in preparations for people whose sleep is disturbed by troubled emotions. Traditional Chinese medicine describes albizia flower as soothing the heart and comforting the spirit, particularly useful for insomnia caused by sadness or suppressed feelings. In the Mediterranean region, you'll find rock rose, a shrubby plant with delicate flowers that look like tissue paper. The plant exudes a sticky resin called labdanum, which has been used in perfumery and medicine since ancient times. This resin was thought to have calming, grounding properties, and it was burned as incense in evening rituals meant to settle the mind and prepare for sleep. The scent is complex, sweet, but also earthy and slightly smoky. Saffron, one of the world's most expensive spices, comes from the stigmas of crocus flowers. Each flower produces only 3 stigmas, and they must be harvested by hand, which explains the cost. But beyond its culinary uses, saffron has a long history in traditional medicine for improving mood and sleep. In ancient Persia, saffron was dissolved in warm milk and drunk before bed. The beautiful golden colour was thought to bring the sun's joy into dreams, while the mild sedative properties brought actual sleep. Blue lotus flowers floated on ponds throughout ancient Egypt, and they held spiritual and practical significance. The flowers close at night and sink beneath the water, rising and opening again with the morning sun. Ancient Egyptians made preparations from blue lotus that were said to bring euphoric relaxation and vivid dreams. The flowers were often depicted in tomb paintings and temple reliefs, suggesting their importance in both daily life and spiritual practice. Bitter orange, particularly the flowers and leaves, have been used in traditional medicine around the Mediterranean and in Latin America. Orange blossom water, distilled from the flowers, has a beautiful sweet scent that has been used in both perfumery and as a mild sedative. In traditional Moroccan and Lebanese cultures, orange blossom water is added to drinks and desserts, and it's also given to children and adults to calm nerves and ease into sleep. Guarana, while famous as a stimulant due to its caffeine content, has a more complex role in traditional Amazonian medicine. Indigenous peoples understood that guarana could either energize or calm, depending on how it was prepared and in what quantity. Very small amounts, taken in the evening with other calming herbs, were thought to help balance energy levels, preventing the nighttime restlessness that can come from either too much or too little energy during the day. Codonopsis root, often called poor man's ginseng, grows in Asia and is used in traditional Chinese medicine much like ginseng, but is considered gentler. It's a climbing plant with delicate bell-shaped flowers, and its root is used to tonify qi, the vital energy. When qi is deficient or stagnant, sleep suffers. Codonopsis helps establish smooth, balanced energy flow, supporting natural sleep-wake rhythms without overstimulation. Ziziphus seeds, from the same jujube tree I mentioned earlier, are used specifically as a sleep remedy in traditional Chinese medicine. These seeds are found inside the jujube dates, and they're prepared differently than the flesh of the fruit. These seeds are thought to be especially effective for people whose hearts are restless. In traditional terminology, for heart blood deficiency that prevents the spirit from settling at night. Longan fruit, a relative of lychee, grows in tropical Asia. The fruit is sweet and delicious fresh, but the dried fruit is used medicinally to nourish the heart and calm the spirit. Traditional Chinese medicine teaches that longan is particularly helpful for people who can't sleep because of overthinking or excessive studying, those whose minds won't turn off. The fruit's sweetness was thought to feed the heart in both literal and metaphorical ways. European mistletoe, famous for its role in Christmas traditions, has a stranger, more medicinal history. This parasitic plant grows on tree branches, extracting nutrients while photosynthesizing on its own. Ancient Druids considered it sacred, particularly mistletoe growing on oak trees. It was used for many purposes, including as a mild sedative. The plant's ability to remain green while its host tree was bare in winter made it a symbol of vitality and renewal, and this quality was thought to extend to those who used it medicinally. Night-blooming jasmine is a plant whose scent intensifies after dark. In tropical and subtropical regions where it grows, the evening air becomes heavy with its sweet, almost intoxicating perfume. This scent alone was thought to have calming properties, and in traditional medicine systems the flowers were used to ease tension and encourage sleep. There's something magical about a flower that saves its full beauty and scent for darkness, as if understanding that nighttime needs its own special medicine. Brahmi, also called bacopa, grows in wetlands throughout India. It's a creeping plant with small white flowers, and it's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years. Traditionally, it was said to enhance memory and intelligence, while also calming the mind. A combination that might seem contradictory until you realize that a calm mind learns and remembers better than an agitated one. Brahmi was often given to students and scholars to help them absorb information during the day and process it through restful sleep at night. The Mongolian milk vetch, or wang qi, is a plant whose root has been dug from the grasslands of northern China for medicinal use for over 2,000 years. It's considered a powerful tonic herb, strengthening the body's defensive energy. In traditional Chinese medicine, when the defensive energy is strong, sleep is sound because the body feels secure enough to truly rest. The root is often sweet-tasting and is combined with other herbs in formulas designed to support overall vitality and good sleep. Salvia miltiorrhiza, known as red sage or dan shen, has roots that are deep red inside. Traditional Chinese medicine uses these roots to invigorate blood circulation and calm the spirit. It's particularly valued for people whose insomnia comes with chest discomfort or palpitations. The plant grows wild on hillsides in China, its purple-blue flowers attractive to bees, and herbalists would search for older plants, believing their roots held more concentrated medicine. Polygonum root, particularly the variety called foti or heshou wu, has a fascinating place in Chinese tradition. The name Heshou Wu translates to black-haired Mr. He, referring to a legend about a man who restored his youth and black hair by taking this herb. While we can't verify such dramatic claims, the root is indeed used to support restful sleep, particularly in people who feel prematurely aged or depleted. The root must be prepared properly, often processed with black beans, to bring out its tonic and calming properties. White peony root, or bai shao, comes from peony plants that have been cultivated in China for over 1,000 years, originally as ornamentals for their spectacular flowers. But herbalists discovered that the roots had medicinal value, particularly for calming the liver and nourishing the blood. In traditional Chinese medicine, liver imbalance often manifests as restless sleep, particularly with irritability or muscle tension. White peony was seen as gentle yet effective for this pattern. Dragon bone and oyster shell might seem like unusual entries in an herbal list, but in traditional Chinese medicine, minerals and shells are often combined with plants. Dragon bone is fossilized bone, while oyster shell is exactly what it sounds like. Both are ground into powder and used to settle and calm the spirit, particularly for people with severe insomnia, anxiety, or restlessness. The weight and density of these substances was thought to help anchor a spirit that was too floating and unsettled. Silk tree bark, from the same tree that produces albizia flowers, has a slightly different application. The bark is used particularly for insomnia that comes with disturbed emotions, anger, or resentment. Traditional Chinese medicine teaches that these heated emotions can stir up the heart and liver, preventing restful sleep. Silk tree bark was thought to cool this heat and smooth the flow of emotional energy. Lily bulb, particularly from certain species used in Chinese medicine, is considered cooling and calming. It's often cooked into porridges and soups, making medicine into food. The bulbs are sweet and slightly starchy, and they're thought to moisten the lungs and calm the heart. Traditional use suggests lily bulb for people whose insomnia comes with a dry cough, dry throat, or general sense of internal heat and restlessness. Mulberry leaf comes from the same trees that silkworms feed on, and in traditional Chinese medicine the leaves are used to cool and calm. They're considered particularly helpful for sleep problems related to liver heat. In traditional terms, when the liver's energy rises upward, causing red eyes, headaches, and restless sleep. Mulberry leaves were thought to gently cool and redirect this energy downward, allowing rest. Turmeric root, famous now for its anti-inflammatory properties, has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years. While often thought of as a daytime medicine, turmeric taken in warm milk before bed is a traditional remedy in India, often given to children. The combination, called golden milk, is both comforting and medicinal, the turmeric helping to ease any inflammation or pain that might disturb sleep. Black cohosh root, native to North America, was used by Native American tribes for many purposes, including as a sleep aid. The plant grows in woodland areas, sending up tall white flower spikes in summer. European settlers learned about black cohosh from indigenous peoples and incorporated it into their own herbal practices. It became particularly associated with women's health, helping to ease the sleep disturbances that can come with hormonal changes. Cramp bark, from the viburnum shrub, has a name that describes its traditional use, easing muscle cramps and tension. When physical tension prevents sleep, cramp bark can help. The shrub produces clusters of white flowers in spring and red berries in fall, and the bark is harvested from branches and dried for use. Native American and early American herbalists valued it highly for various kinds of tension and discomfort. Wild yam root, despite modern confusion about its properties, has a legitimate place in traditional herbal medicine. In Appalachian folk medicine, wild yam was used for various purposes, including easing nighttime muscle cramps and general restlessness. The plant is a vigorous vine, and the roots were traditionally dug in autumn after the plant had stored energy for winter. Damiana leaves come from a small shrub native to Central and South America. The Maya and Aztec peoples used Damiana as both a tonic and a relaxant. Spanish missionaries were surprised to find indigenous peoples using it in evening beverages, claiming it brought peaceful dreams and contentment. The leaves have a slightly bitter, aromatic quality, and they were often smoked or made into tea. Kava kava, which I mentioned earlier, deserves another mention because there are different varieties and preparations, each with slightly different effects. Traditional Pacific Island cultures developed sophisticated knowledge about which varieties to use for what purposes, how to prepare them, and what time of day to consume them. The evening kava ceremony wasn't just about the plant's chemical properties. It was about community, ritual, and the collective settling into night's peace. California poppy, which I also mentioned earlier, was often combined with other herbs by native Californian peoples. They understood that plants often work better in combination than alone, and California poppy was frequently paired with other local herbs to create balanced remedies for different types of sleep problems. Catnip too deserves another look because European and American traditions used it in different ways. In America, catnip tea was a common household remedy, often the first thing given to children or adults with mild sleep difficulties. In England, young shoots were sometimes eaten as a vegetable, believed to bring calming benefits. The plant self-seeds readily, returning year after year, as if insisting on its place in the garden, ready to help whenever needed. Fennel has an interesting dual nature. While often thought of as a digestive herb, and it is wonderful for that, traditional Mediterranean herbalists also used fennel seed tea in the evening. These seeds have a sweet, licorice-like flavour, and a warm cup of fennel tea was believed to ease the stomach and quiet the mind. The plant itself is beautiful, growing tall with feathery leaves and umbels of tiny yellow flowers that attract beneficial insects all summer long. Angelica root comes from an impressive plant that can grow 6 feet tall or more. In medieval Europe, it was considered so powerful that it was called the root of the Holy Ghost. Monks cultivated it in their monastery gardens, and the root was candied and eaten or made into liqueurs and teas. Angelica was thought to strengthen the spirit and calm anxiety, creating the inner peace necessary for good sleep. The plant prefers cool northern climates and damp soil, thriving where many other herbs struggle. Borage is a plant with the most beautiful star-shaped blue flowers and leaves covered in soft silvery hairs. Ancient herbalists called it the herb of gladness, believing it had the power to dispel melancholy and bring courage. While not specifically a sleep herb, borage was used to lift the spirits during the day, and traditional wisdom held that a glad heart sleeps more easily than a troubled one. The flowers are edible and were often floated in drinks, and there's something delightful about seeing those blue stars drifting in your cup. Meadowsweet grows in damp meadows and along stream banks, and when it blooms in summer, the air fills with its sweet almond-like scent. The plant was one of the 3 most sacred herbs of the Druids, along with watermint and vervain. Meadowsweet contains compounds similar to aspirin, and traditional herbalists used it to ease the kind of pain that keeps people awake: headaches, muscle aches, and joint discomfort. Imagine walking through a wet meadow in June, the creamy white flower clusters releasing their scent with every step. German chamomile and Roman chamomile are different species, though both are used similarly. German chamomile is an annual that must be replanted each year, while Roman chamomile is a perennial that creeps along the ground, forming fragrant mats. Roman chamomile was used to make chamomile lawns in medieval England. Imagine that, walking on a living carpet that released apple-scented fragrance with every footfall. Both varieties have been trusted sleep herbs for so long that they're woven into the fabric of European herbal tradition. Cornflower, that beautiful blue flower that once grew abundantly in grain fields, has a gentler reputation than some herbs, but was still valued. The flowers were gathered and dried, then used in tea blends, adding both beauty and a mild calming effect. Before modern farming eliminated most wildflowers from grain fields, imagine wheat fields studded with blue cornflowers and red poppies, a tapestry of wild beauty. Herbalists would walk the edges of fields after harvest, gathering what had been left behind. Calendula, the sunny orange marigold, is primarily known for healing skin, but traditional herbalists also use calendula tea to ease troubled sleep, particularly when sleep problems came from physical pain or inflammation. The flowers follow the sun across the sky, opening in the morning and closing at dusk, and this solar quality was thought to bring light and warmth to the spirit, dispelling the shadows that prevent rest. Rose petals have been used in sleep preparations across many cultures. Persian and Arabic traditions particularly valued rose water and rose tea for their ability to cool heat and calm the heart. The scent of roses was believed to open the heart, releasing held tensions and sorrows that might otherwise disturb sleep. Rose gardens were planted near bedrooms, so evening breezes would carry the scent indoors. Different varieties of roses have different scents, but the old damask roses, grown for centuries for their perfume, were considered the most medicinally valuable. Jasmine flowers, particularly the white-flowered varieties, have such a powerful, sweet scent that they've been used in perfumery and medicine throughout Asia for thousands of years. In traditional Chinese medicine, jasmine flowers are considered cooling and calming, helping to soothe irritability and restlessness. The flowers are often added to green tea, creating jasmine tea, which when drunk in the evening without steeping too long, so it has less caffeine, brings both the tea's gentle alertness and jasmine's calming sweetness together. Thyme, which we know as a culinary herb, also has medicinal properties. Traditional European herbalists used thyme tea, particularly wild thyme, to ease respiratory complaints that disturb sleep, coughs, congestion, and breathing difficulties. The ancient Greeks burned thyme as incense in their temples, believing its smoke purified spaces and invited beneficial energies. A sprig of thyme tucked under a pillow was thought to prevent nightmares. Marjoram, particularly sweet marjoram, is gentler than its cousin oregano. In Greek mythology, Aphrodite grew marjoram on Mount Olympus, and it became associated with love and happiness. Traditional herbalists used marjoram tea in the evening for its mild sedative properties and to ease tension headaches. The scent is warm and slightly sweet, and in medieval times marjoram was strewn on floors to freshen rooms and bring peaceful energy to living spaces. Rosemary might seem like an odd choice for a sleep herb since it's often associated with mental clarity and memory. However, traditional herbalists understood that different preparations and dosages could create different effects. Very small amounts of rosemary in an evening tea blend were thought to help ease the kind of restless legs or circulation issues that can disturb sleep. And rosemary plants placed near bedroom windows were believed to protect sleep and encourage meaningful dreams. Dill seed has been used since ancient Egyptian times for various purposes, including easing sleeplessness. The word dill comes from an Old Norse word meaning to lull or soothe, which tells you something about how Northern Europeans saw this herb. Mothers would give dill water to fussy babies to help them sleep, and adults used dill seed tea for the same purpose. The delicate feathery leaves and yellow flower umbels make dill a graceful addition to any garden. Basil, particularly the sacred Tulsi variety I mentioned earlier, but also sweet basil, has calming properties when used properly. In traditional Greek and Roman medicine, basil was used to ease stress and worry. The plant itself seems to embody vitality with its bright green, aromatic leaves, but this vitality is of a balanced kind that supports both activity and rest. Different cultures have different relationships with basil, some considering it sacred, others using it freely in cooking, but many recognizing its ability to calm the spirit. Spearmint and peppermint are both valued for easing digestive discomfort that can interfere with sleep. While peppermint is stronger and could be too stimulating for some people in the evening, spearmint is gentler. Traditional herbalists would use mint teas after the evening meal to prevent the kind of indigestion and bloating that makes lying down uncomfortable. The plants spread enthusiastically through gardens, and brushing past them releases their clean, fresh scent. Lemon verbena, though not related to lemon or verbena, has one of the most pure lemony scents in the plant world. Just a few leaves in hot water create a tea that's refreshing and calming at the same time. Traditional use suggests lemon verbena for digestive upset and nervous tension, both of which can interfere with sleep. The plant is sensitive to cold and must be brought indoors in winter in temperate climates, but its generous scent makes it worth the effort. Lemongrass, tropical and tall, contains some of the same compounds as lemon balm and lemon verbena, giving it a similar citrus scent. In Southeast Asian traditional medicine, lemongrass tea is used to ease anxiety and promote sleep. The plant grows in dense clumps, and harvesting involves cutting the stalks near ground level, releasing that fresh lemony smell. In tropical climates, lemongrass grows year-round, a steady source of calming medicine. Bee balm, also called bergamot or Oswego tea, is native to North America. The Oswego people and other native tribes made tea from its leaves, and this practice was adopted by colonists, especially during the Revolutionary War when regular tea was being boycotted. The flowers are spectacular, brilliant red, pink or purple pom-poms that hummingbirds adore. While primarily used for colds and flu, bee balm tea was also drunk in the evening for its mild calming effects. Anise seeds have been used since ancient times, mentioned in biblical texts and Egyptian papyri. The seeds have a licorice-like flavour and were used both as a spice and as medicine. Traditional herbalists used anise seed tea to ease digestive complaints and calm the nerves, creating better conditions for sleep. The plant produces delicate, white flower umbels, and the seeds are harvested when they begin to turn brown on the plant. Star anise, despite the similar name, comes from a completely different plant, a tree native to China and Vietnam. The star-shaped seed pods are beautiful and aromatic, and they've been used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries. Like anise seed, star anise helps with digestion and has mild sedative properties. The scent is warm and comforting, like mulled wine or chai tea. Caraway seeds come from a plant in the same family as dill and fennel. In European folk medicine, caraway was given to children to ease colic and help them sleep. The seeds were also baked into bread, believed to make the bread more digestible, and to bring the bread's comforting, nourishing qualities together with caraway's calming medicine. There's something deeply satisfying about bread baked with caraway, the nutty, slightly bitter seeds punctuating the soft, warm bread. Coriander seeds, from the plant that also gives us cilantro leaves, have a completely different flavour than the leaves, warm, slightly sweet, and citrusy. Ancient Egyptian tombs contained coriander seeds, suggesting how long this plant has been valued. Traditional herbalists used coriander seed tea to ease digestive upset and nervous stomach, the kind that keeps people awake at night. The round seeds can be chewed whole or ground into powder for tea. Nutmeg, in very small amounts, has been used traditionally as a sleep aid. In medieval Europe, nutmeg was precious and expensive, arriving by ship from distant spice islands. A tiny grating of nutmeg in warm milk before bed was a traditional remedy for insomnia. However, traditional wisdom also warned that too much nutmeg was dangerous, so it was always used sparingly with respect for its power. Cardamom pods, green or black, contain seeds with an intensely aromatic, slightly sweet flavor. In Ayurvedic medicine, cardamom is considered tridoshic, meaning it balances all 3 doshas or constitutional types. It's warming without being overstimulating, and it's often added to milk-based drinks consumed before bed. In Middle Eastern cultures, cardamom coffee is traditional, but when made without coffee and just with the cardamom pods, milk, and honey, it becomes a soothing bedtime drink. Cinnamon bark has been traded for thousands of years, so valuable that wars were fought over control of cinnamon-producing regions. Beyond its delicious flavor, cinnamon has warming, comforting properties that traditional herbalists use to ease tension and create a sense of security. A small piece of cinnamon stick simmered in milk with honey is a classic bedtime drink in many cultures. Ginger root, while often thought of as stimulating, has a place in sleep medicine when used correctly. Traditional Chinese medicine teaches that cold in the digestive system can cause restless sleep, and small amounts of warming ginger can help. Also, ginger's ability to ease nausea means it can help when digestive upset prevents sleep. The fresh root is spicy and aromatic, and it's been cultivated for so long that wild ginger is rare or possibly non-existent. Licorice root is intensely sweet, much sweeter than sugar, and it's been used in medicine for thousands of years. In traditional Chinese medicine, licorice is called the grandfather of herbs because it harmonizes other herbs in a formula. It has adaptogenic properties, helping the body respond to stress more gracefully. However, traditional wisdom also warns against using too much licorice, or using it for too long, as it can affect blood pressure and potassium levels. Astragalus root, another staple of traditional Chinese medicine, looks like a tongue depressor when dried and sliced. It's considered a gentle tonic that builds the body's defensive energy over time. While not directly sedating, astragalus supports the kind of deep vitality that allows for restorative sleep. Traditional use suggests taking it during the day to build energy that can be properly released at night. Eleuthero, sometimes called Siberian ginseng, though it's not a true ginseng, grows in harsh climates in northeastern Asia. Like rhodiola, its adaptation to difficult conditions is thought to help people adapt to stress. Traditional Russian medicine used eleuthero to help people maintain energy and mental clarity during long, dark winters, while also supporting good sleep quality. American ginseng, unlike its more stimulating Asian cousin, is considered cooling in traditional Chinese medicine. Native American tribes, particularly the Cherokee, valued it highly, and it was one of the first American plants exported to China, where it was incorporated into traditional formulas. American ginseng is used to support people who are both tired and wired, exhausted but unable to sleep. Suma root, called para todo in Brazil, meaning for everything, is another adaptogen from South America. Traditional use suggests it helps balance energy levels throughout the day and night, preventing both the crashes that lead to unproductive sleep and the spikes that prevent sleep altogether. The plant is a vine, and the roots can grow quite large and gnarled. Maca root, from high in the Peruvian Andes, has been cultivated for thousands of years. It grows at altitudes where few other plants survive, and this hardiness is part of what it's believed to share with those who use it. Maca is energizing but also balancing, and traditional use suggests it can help normalize sleep patterns that have been disrupted by stress or hormonal changes. Tribulus, a plant that grows in dry, difficult places around the world, has been used in both Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine. The fruit is spiny and uninviting, giving the plant its common name, puncture vine, but the traditional medicine extracted from it is valued for helping balance the body's systems, including sleep-wake cycles. Dong Quai, called female ginseng in China, has a special place in women's health traditions. It's used to balance hormones and ease the sleep disturbances that can come with menstrual cycles, pregnancy and menopause. The root is aromatic and slightly sweet, and it's often combined with other herbs in traditional formulas. Shatavari root is to Ayurvedic medicine what Dong Quai is to Chinese medicine, a premier herb for women's health. The name means she who possesses 100 husbands, referring to the vitality it's believed to provide. Like Dong Quai, Shatavari is used to ease sleep problems related to hormonal fluctuations, and it's considered cooling and nourishing. Black seed, also called nigella or black cumin, has been used in Middle Eastern and North African medicine for thousands of years. The Islamic prophet Muhammad reportedly said black seed is a remedy for everything except death. While this might be hyperbole, black seed is indeed used for many conditions, including sleep problems related to inflammation or immune imbalance. Fenugreek seeds are familiar from Indian and Middle Eastern cooking, but they also have medicinal uses. The seeds are bitter and aromatic, and traditional medicine uses them to help balance blood sugar and ease digestive upset, both of which can interfere with sleep. Nursing mothers have traditionally used fenugreek to increase milk production, and peaceful milk flow supports peaceful sleep for both mother and baby. Milk thistle, with its spiky leaves and purple flowers, is primarily known as a liver protector. However, traditional herbalists understood that liver health affects sleep quality. In traditional Chinese medicine, liver imbalance often manifests as sleep disturbances, particularly waking between 1 and 3 in the morning. By supporting liver function, milk thistle indirectly supports better sleep. Burdock root grows deep into the earth, sometimes several feet down. Traditional herbalists saw this deep rooting as a signature. Burdock was thought to work deeply in the body, slowly but thoroughly. It's used as a blood purifier and to support liver and kidney function. When these elimination organs work well, the body can release toxins and tensions that might otherwise disturb sleep. Dandelion root, though often dismissed as a weed, is a powerful medicinal plant. Like burdock, it supports liver and kidney function. The root can be roasted and used as a coffee substitute, dandelion coffee, which has the comforting ritual of coffee without the caffeine that interferes with sleep. The French name for dandelion, pissenlit, refers to its diuretic properties, and traditional wisdom suggests drinking dandelion tea earlier in the day to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. Yellow dock root is another deep-rooted plant used similarly to burdock and dandelion. It's particularly valued for supporting digestion and elimination. The leaves are sour and rich in iron, while the root is used in detoxifying formulas. When the body can effectively eliminate what it doesn't need, rest comes more easily. Red clover blossoms are gathered in summer when the fields turn pink-purple with their flower heads. Traditionally, red clover tea was used as a blood purifier and to ease menopausal symptoms, including the sleep disturbances that often come with hormonal changes. There's something peaceful about walking through a red clover field. The soft flower heads brushing against your legs, bees humming their work songs. Nettle leaf, despite its sting when fresh, becomes a gentle and nourishing herb when dried or cooked. It's rich in minerals and has been used as both food and medicine throughout history. Nettle strengthens and tonifies the whole body, and when the body is well nourished, sleep improves. Traditional herbalists would harvest nettle in early spring wearing gloves, and the sting was seen as evidence of the plant's vitality. Chickweed is a delicate plant that grows as a winter weed in many places. It's cooling and soothing, traditionally used both internally and externally. While not specifically a sleep herb, chickweed was used in formulas to cool internal heat and ease restlessness, creating better conditions for rest. Cleavers, also called goosegrass or sticky willy because its seeds stick to clothing and fur, is a traditional spring tonic herb. It supports lymphatic drainage and helps the body release what it's holding on to. Traditional European herbalists used cleavers to ease swollen glands and sluggish elimination, believing that when the body could let go physically, it could also let go mentally and emotionally into sleep. Red raspberry leaf is famous as a women's health tonic, particularly during pregnancy. The leaves are rich in minerals and gently toning, and they've been used to ease the physical discomforts of pregnancy that can interfere with sleep. The tea has a pleasant, slightly fruity flavour and can be drunk freely. Oat straw I mentioned earlier, but the whole oat plant, including the milky oats and oat straw, deserves emphasis. Oats feed the nervous system, especially when it's been depleted by stress or illness. Traditional herbalists would recommend oat preparations for people who are burned out, exhausted but unable to sleep, their nervous systems too depleted to properly regulate rest. Alfalfa, while primarily thought of as animal fodder, has also been used in herbal medicine. It's deeply rooting and mineral rich, and it was traditionally used as a nutritive tonic. When the body is well nourished at a deep level, many problems, including sleep problems, can resolve naturally. And now we come full circle to where we began, thinking about how humans have always sought help from the plant world for rest and sleep. These 100 herbs, from the ancient Sumerians' poppies to the modern research on reishi and rhodiola, represent thousands of years of observation, experimentation, and wisdom. What I find most beautiful about all these plants is that they grow everywhere humans live. In every climate, on every continent where people have made their homes, there are plants ready to help with sleep. It's as if the earth itself wants us to rest well, providing remedies in every place. As you drift towards sleep now, you might imagine yourself in a garden where all these herbs grow together. The purple lavender and blue vervain, the white chamomile and pink passion flower, the golden California poppies and silver mugwort. The evening air is filled with their combined scents, complex and soothing. Bees are settling into their hives, birds into their nests, and the flowers themselves are closing their petals for the night. You are part of this natural world, connected to the same rhythms that guide these plants, the rhythm of day and night, activity and rest, blooming and sleeping. Let yourself sink into that rhythm now, trusting it as the plants do, surrendering to the gentle pull of darkness and dreams. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of sleep herbs, my friend. May your rest be deep and your dreams be sweet. Good night.